Welcome to the Political Matrix News. We have the sources, we have the truth from inside the political matrix.
Hello, folks. This is Greg Fink here with the Political Matrix News broadcast, and I'm joined tonight here with Jonathan Cole. How you doing, Jonathan?
I'm just fine. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good. It looks like this is the 13th of August. We're coming to you guys on, and we want to remind everybody to go ahead and, if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel, like us, follow us, and please share us with all your friends in the social media world. And it looks like we're going to start out tonight's conversation talking about Florida politics. We are both based in Florida. I'm coming to you guys from Gainesville, and Jonathan is over there in Navarre, Florida, the beautiful white beaches of Northwest Florida. And it looks like Matt Gaetz is having quite the race right now. He's actually going door to door and showing up at events to talk to people and talk to voters. And, that's pretty cool. It's unusual for him. He hasn't done this in 15 years. At the consistency he's doing it now. And, maybe he's scared of something.
The question is what? Because it all defies logic. He's running against an opponent whose campaign's far from stellar, spending a lot of money on ad buys on
a lot of money
television channels that the people you want to reach aren't watching. No road signs whatsoever.
He has one road sign, I thought.
Yeah,
with a very interesting logo.
He had a donor who just decided, I'm going to put up a road sign, so it's not even an official campaign sign in Belfry. I've seen it. So, but so we've seen Matt run 4 campaigns in this district.
4 for congressional, and then 4 for state rep.
But
so 8 races altogether. I mean, I was watching him when he ran for state rep in the special election to replace Ray Sansom. Whenever he railroaded Ray out of the office.
Right. But I mean, he's not. Conventional wisdom would be he's a shoe-in. Why bother? Instead, he's spending more time in the district than he spends any time previous since he became a congressman. But yeah, he's going to events. He's showing up for foremans. But that shocked me the most the other day is that he's canvassing door to door in Okaloosa County.
Right.
I don't think he's ever done that before, ever.
Which is his strongest county, is his base county. I mean, that's where he claims to be from.
Right.
He's really from Hollywood, Florida.
How do you compare that to conventional wisdom? That's what we can't figure out.
I don't know. I think that maybe he's running on this whole idea that he's the everybody's favorite son, and he's really begging on that whole the whole idea that he's going to be the martyr of the swamp whenever they remove him from office, or if they ever did remove him from office, hypothetically, between now and election day. And because of the ethics committee and the justice committee, and everybody's looking at different charges and different allegations with his sex acts and his alleged drug use and alleged sex acts and so on and so forth, or more or less his behavior. And so, I mean, I think, there's a possibility. There's always a rumor out there that he could be removed from office any day now. And I don't think people in D.C. give a damn about the schedule of the election. It'll just, the government will just schedule another one.
One election's next week. A week from today. The one that you'd think they would want most to win. Especially, it's no secret Kevin McCarthy's backing this campaign of Arendemics.
Yeah, they are spending a lot of money, like $50,000 a week.
So it's like they know something we don't know either, and it's kind of puzzling. Because
they must know something, because I mean, there's no real kosher way of spending that much money, that blindly.
Yeah. Well, and I saw Dimmock the other night in a very Republican event, and he wasn't well received. I mean, he got a little, but most of it was at Matt Gaetz's venue.
Right.
At the Hope Village in Shalimar. So I don't know who he's connecting with in the Republican Party, but I mean, the sniff test says it's a shoe-in for Matt, but we're not seeing that from activity from either campaign. So Yeah, I mean, we know McCarthy wants to humiliate him if at all possible.
Right.
Releasing the info. I mean, that's also the difference too. Is it just releasing the information that they have spent in this investigation, or is it actually trying to remove him from Congress?
Right.
Because if it's just the information, it's too late to help Aaron Dimmock. People are already voting. If it's the removal from Congress, then yeah, then you're talking about setting up a special election event, which would probably have this district not having a legislative representative for months.
Right. It'd be very similar to what happened whenever Meeks died in South Florida. DeSantis scheduled a special election 6 months later, and he gave 4 months for a primary and 2 months for a general election.
Yeah, but
And
that
there
was
was
in
a
the middle of
congressman
the
for
term,
over 8 months.
not during the election.
Well, well, basically they were without a congressperson for 8 months.
True, but it's a little bit different territory.
It is a totally
Having
different
an
territory.
election and then not having a congressman.
Right.
This one's still drawing
But
breath.
right now we have no idea what's going to happen. DC doesn't really look at the election cycles or election dates whenever they make their
Yeah.
decision to remove somebody. They're
Well,
removing them based off their merit of the stuff that they had done wrong while they're in office. And so that's
and
what we're looking at.
McCarthy's had some luck knocking off other members of the Freedom Caucus in the primaries.
Right.
But you know who his public enemy number one is Matt Gaetz. So, like I said, looking at that campaign, it's almost how you not to run a campaign, but they seem pretty confident.
Yeah.
And Matt Gaetz is running like he's 20 points behind.
There's obviously something in the Republican water that's kind of weird because Matt Gaetz is running like he's behind of a media campaign only done by Aaron Dimmock without any kind of ground game whatsoever. I think he's done around 15 mailers. So 15 or so mailers, which in Northwest Florida is a big deal. Whenever you do that much direct mail in the Republican Party. In fact, that's how Jeff Miller won his campaign whenever he won in this special election against 11 other people. And I was working on that campaign. And Jeff Miller, he did around 7 or 8, maybe 9 direct mail pieces. And he won with over 50% in an 11-man race. And whenever, and we had direct mail and we had door to door. And that's what we did on the campaign. Well, it was very little media, though.
No,
That was
but
in 2001.
there's still the disconnect. I've still spoken to
Yeah,
Republicans
because Miller had signs
in
everywhere.
the last couple of weeks who didn't know there were any allegations against Matt Gaetz. Because
Exactly. That's a whole other thing.
control the media in this area so well.
Right.
And all of these ads are running on Channel 3, which most people that would typically vote for Matt Gaetz aren't watching because, one, it's a liberal news media, and they're not going to watch Good Morning America and The View. So they're not seeing these ads.
Right.
So
there are quite a few of them on Fox News because I did download the cable buy for the group that's doing the buy for the PAC. And there are a lot of them on ESPN and Fox News.
But apparently the only people that have mentioned them as having seen them have seen them on Channel 3. So I don't know if they're showing them on Fox News at 3:45 at night or what. But
in the daytime.
Nobody's commenting on it on Fox.
Right, they're not, yeah. None of the local citizenry is really, no.
Well, that's all that matters in this district. It's just the local citizenry.
Right. They are getting a lot of mail.
Yeah. But the ones that have heard these allegations have been tuned in to treat it as attacks and fake news, and Matt's doing a stellar job, and you've got to, this is just the swamp going after him. So I don't see these ads having any impact on those kind of voters. So we're still at, why are these two campaigns doing what they're doing?
It's weird. They're spending a lot of money.
Yeah. Well, McCarthy knows how to run campaigns, obviously. And like I said, he's had success against other Freedom Caucus members.
Right.
So, it's just it's going to have to reveal itself, because all we have is conjecture, and
Right.
I mean we're all experienced in this field,
But
so
this is totally. I mean, this is a totally different year for campaigns. I mean, between the shootings and the stepping downs and the economy and the lies and the misconceptions about what reality really is, the deceit out there. Some candidates doing this and candidates doing. I mean, it has been one strange year. That's just here in Florida, by the way. I
yeah.
mean,
Well,
I
even
mean,
on
and
the local level.
Florida still is a Florida man of politics out there, and
Well, and on the local level, I was at that same forum where they appeared, in their school board and commissioner races. And the entire qualification is apparently is who's the biggest Trump supporter. That's
yeah,
who you vote for, because that's what they argued about. I
and
mean,
it's for a school board, it depends on the liberals want to burn all the conservative books, and there's a conservatives who want to burn all the liberal books, and there's a lot of people who want to just burn all the books, and it
well, in
seems
my
like
county, it was
it's
more.
a very weird. I mean, between
I,
all 67 counties, it's bizarre. I mean, because I run into these people who are wanting to burn books, and I'm assuming they're conservatives, and somebody else tells me they're Democrats who want to get rid of all the Mark Twain books and any kind of book that has to do with uh, civil rights or all kind of history like that that might be defamatory to somebody or hurting their feelings. And then we have the conservatives who are upset because they might actually talk about kissing or necking or having sex or something in a book, and because they want to hurt those people's feelings or something. I mean, it's the entire
you still got to
hypersensitive
explain to me where any of that
sensitivity.
fit into that one book by Ayn Rand. So, uh,
Exactly. I mean, everybody wants to get rid of the Bible. I mean, everybody's thinking the
I'm
Bible's
still
too
trying to
violent.
figure out why conservatives, so-called conservatives, are
But
trying
I
to get
mean,
rid of it from their darling of
and
years.
those are just school board races. We got county commissioner races where we got different districts all throughout the state where counties are trying to take over water permits and take over land permits away from the land authority and everything. I mean, it's just weird. I mean, it's a very bizarre state where people are trying to take over everything on a local level to the
Well, we
extreme,
also
to take
have
away all the rights from the citizens.
here in Santa Rosa County, which is bright, bright, glowing red, 70 something percent Republican,
Yeah,
but like big
as
hot
far as
topic
in
this
red.
year the commissioner races is, I'm a lifelong Republican, where you changed parties 20 years ago, but what they're not
Right.
mean is 20 years ago, everybody was a Reagan Democrat in this area. They all started flipping
Well,
in
30 years ago now, but yeah.
in the 90s. Yeah, but I mean, some of them took longer than others. But I mean,
And this
you
was
know,
around 94,
yeah,
94,
that's
96.
of the time Joe Scarborough showed up. So,
Right.
and
Morning, Joe.
yeah,
Yeah. We were actually, you and I are both voters of that district for Morning Joe.
I didn't vote for him.
So, well, I did. And so he was a very good congressman at the time.
Yeah. So what changed?
He's Morning Joe. He's an entertainer. He's a newscast guy. I mean,
I
works
think
for
he's still part of
MSNBC.
the.
A lot of things have changed about him. A lot of things haven't changed about him. I think, I mean, he was always very vocal back then, and he was always a thorn in the flesh to a lot of the Republican elites, and I think he is still
I
that way
also
now.
think he's part of the moderate Republican wing that wonders where they fit in anymore, like
I
Liz
agree.
Cheney,
I think he is.
Adam
I think he
Kinzinger,
is.
a lot of those.
Right.
Like the mayor of Mesa, Arizona, has come out endorsing Kamala Harris. He's a longtime conservative Republican, but he's like, I don't recognize my party anymore.
Well, I
We
mean, I
just
think a lot of people don't recognize their party because a lot of people don't want to look at their party the way it really looks. And also, I don't really think the Republican Party nor the Democrat Party has a very clear identity. I think they are all muddled together. I think there's a messed up identity totally
Oh,
between both parties.
and they're
I
shape,
mean,
shape
the
they've been
MAGA
shape
guys
shifting
have
all
shifted
along.
the MAGA guys have shifted the entire focus or the appeal of the Republican Party and distorted it to a very interesting degree. And the progressives wing, the Democrat Party, has done the same thing to them as well. And so I do not know exactly who the majority leader is of both parties because Donald Trump is representing 35%, 40% of his base. Now, granted, he does have pretty much most of the party behind him because, I mean, they are uniformed. In fact, Republicans are uniformed and unified right now better than they ever have been.
Did you say
And
uninformed?
what?
Did you say uninformed?
Unified. Unified. No, not
No,
uninformed.
they do
Uniformed.
definitely vote more
I
solidly for the
misquote.
ticket.
Yeah, well,
Democrats
they're doing better
will
now.
fall solid.
It used to
2016.
be Republicans would split apart like crazy, and Democrats were all lockstep, like, I want your soldiers.
I was reading an article a while back, and I can't remember. I have to look it up now. But it was talking about how it used to be the parties were vertical because each party used to have conservative
Right.
elements and liberal elements. You know, you had Rockefeller Republicans, and you had we were very liberal, and you had
The
Southern
Goldwater.
Democrats who were very conservative up until the '60s. But it was built vertical. Now it's all straight, horizontal, left and right.
Yeah.
You can only go one way or the other. Um, and it's like one side's one and one side's the other, but even the lines are blurring there.
And that comes back to the Matt Gaetz race. I mean, we have no idea where, why the spending is so high on this race that does not seem attainable for Aaron Dimmock to win. But Matt is also running like he's way behind. And we've done some polling on the race, and it's it's we have not seen anything that Aaron is going to blow him away
Well,
or
but
win.
when we ran that poll, he wasn't in the race yet, or he had just came in, wasn't it?
No, but exactly, yeah.
So we don't know the impact him entering the race has had. But Matt's team's doing polling. So did they see something they don't like? That's why he's out there.
Well, one thing we did see in our poll is that Matt does have issues. And we've seen that for years. Is that Matt has had weaknesses in a lot of the polls that we ran, and he's always won. And I mean, a few people were ahead of him in some polls, but on the issues, he was very weak on the issues, and
Well, that's
he's always
because
had that weakness before.
he just does photo ops and
Exactly.
viral videos.
The whole idea, though, is that his opponent would have to capture that, capture what his weaknesses are, and then penetrate the voters with that information. And the funding to penetrate a guy with a household name like that has to be a lot of funding.
Well, but even you can spend a lot of money if it's not reaching the right people.
Exactly.
It's not going to help, and I don't see it reaching the right people. Like I
No,
said,
I don't see the messaging being on target at all. The messaging
no,
here is all about the 17-year-old girl, and all about him being arrested, and people all know about that. This is salacious details. But Chip O'Neill's right, and Kevin McCarthy's team needs to understand that. All politics is local, and
yes.
what needs to be done is this take all that money. They're talking about the Bahamas and everything else. Take all that money and talk about where's Matt been. I mean, Matt's nowhere. But they didn't
That's
do
what
that.
I'm saying.
And
He's in
in 8 days
Panhandle right
now.
now more than he's ever been since he's been in office.
Exactly. The election's in 8 days now, and I don't see the Republican Party
7 days.
coming out anywhere. So what?
7 days.
After 7 days, I guess it will be. It is after 7 p.m. on the 13th.
And then there's a general election, and normally that's anticlimactic in District 1.
I think
but
it's going to be different.
maybe not.
I mean, I have a lot of Republican friends, a lot of Republican consultants, and that we all know who all think it's a done game after the primary. However, I think this year is an interesting year with a lot of people crossing the political aisles on a lot of different issues between abortion. Right now, abortion is actually polling very high here in the state of Florida, and that's going to be on the amendment.
100%.
The recreational marijuana is polling well. That's going to be on the amendment on the ballot as well in November.
And it's not just a matter of polling high; it's the single largest driver of turnout.
Yeah, and
Especially,
also, I mean, people always ask us about abortion, and when you and I have been, Scott, have been polling these issues for the last 3 or 4 years. I will say, every single poll we've done on abortion has gone 5% more pro-choice, every single one. And I mean, and in fact, it was majority pro-choice last year when we polled it.
but
It was around
the thing this
53%.
year is, I think the approach to doing it offended the sensibilities of a lot of conservative Republicans when they go back to the fact that we're not supposed to be the party of big government and denying
Right.
rights and making rules, and that's
But
what I'm seeing. So for 69% of the, and it only needs 60% to pass, but if
right,
69% is for it, there are a
that's
lot of
pretty damn good. Yeah.
Republicans who are for Proposition 4.
Yeah, exactly. If it's already at 69% and on a statewide level, then that's very, very good. And it's probably going to stay at that steam because it takes on a statewide, like with 23 million people like Florida has, it takes a lot of momentum one way or the other to shift 9 or 10% statewide. It's not like,
Yeah, it
we're
would
not
take
like a small
10%.
state. We're a very large state. And
It would
so, in
take
order for the pro-life guys to overcome that, it's going to have to be one hell of a campaign for the pro-life movement to overcome that 10% right there for the
Well,
general election.
all they could do is attack the source, which has always been a big attack. Like all of the years of casino gambling propositions, and that's usually where they hit is who's behind this. Oh, yeah, nobody from this state, and that it fails.
That might be
So
their idea. I mean, I am pro-life myself, and I am going to be working on the pro-life side of the cause for the general election, full disclosure. And I do hope that the pro-life group does win because I do think the amendment does go too far. I don't think if they would have stopped it at 26 weeks or 20 weeks, that would have been great. Now, granted, I know most people don't want unlimited weeks on the abortion. I understand that the statistics out there are very nil on the people that actually do the abortions on the very late term. You and I have talked about that. It's more of a fundraising talking point than anything else. However, that being said, the amendment doesn't have a date on it as far as how long you can go. And so
no,
that, it should, but then people don't realize also the way amendments work in Florida, after the amendment gets passed, then the Florida legislature tackles the amendment and makes it constitutional. And so the Florida legislature will go ahead and tighten up all the loose ends of the amendment and make sure it's a perfect statute. And whenever they're doing that in committee, it's probably going to end up being around 26 weeks.
yeah,
26 weeks, which is most people are okay. Yeah, the majority of pro-life people are okay with 16 weeks to 26 weeks.
Like
And
I
so
said,
that
my
seems to be-
Republican friends that comment on this, that's what gets at them is this. We're doing exactly what we blame Democrats of doing when
Exactly.
they look at it as a rights issue.
Well, I mean, it's a right to the baby.
Well, but that's not the way they see
the unborn
it.
is just because they're unborn doesn't mean they're not alive.
Especially the way DeSantis and his crowd portrayed it when they passed the laws.
Well, okay,
which was a huge overreach, and overreaches tend to create reaction in upcoming polling.
It does. You're correct. But the other overreach is saying that the unborn child is not a living being, and it is.
Well,
it's just logically living.
We'll never solve that debate.
Growing.
We'll never solve that debate.
Yeah, I mean, whenever we'll see, for some reason, we will continue to have a class of people who think that something that's growing is not growing. And something that's growing is dead. And something that's dead, wait a second, it's not growing either.
Yeah.
But if it is growing, then it's probably alive.
Well, they're still growing on a cadaver. Hair and nails still grow. So
but they're not growing to come out of a body and to
But
go
the
ahead
issue
and do science
became
and play football or drive cars. Their hair on a cadaver is just growing to go ahead and staying on the cadaver.
but the other issue that's come out of this based off of their other overreach that I don't understand, because unless they're Catholics, it doesn't make it. But what IVF?
Yeah, I don't understand any
They
of
brought
that.
that up. It brought up the valid point. What happens with the fertilized egg?
Right.
Technically, to
Yeah.
them, it's a human being. Well, you can freeze that. I know people have eggs 20 years in the freezer in Jacksonville. You can't freeze a human and them live. So
Yeah. I mean, if you're
there
going
is a
that road, the
scientific
scientific,
tipping point there.
yeah, I
But,
agree with you there.
but I haven't gotten a good explanation on that, or why the
There isn't
Republican
one.
Party is after IVF and just general.
They're not. Well,
They are.
that's a clarification. The Republican Party is not after IVF. It's the Democrats who want the Republicans to be after IVF. So that way, the Democrats can use it as a talking point to say they're
No,
after IVF.
Alabama passed.
Rick Scott is
They
supporting it.
pretty strong law
Rick,
against
that's
it,
not true, man.
and and just general
Just
contraception. I
repeating a
mean,
lie doesn't make it true.
yeah, it does.
No, it
It,
doesn't.
it happened.
Self-fulfilling prophecies are, this is not one of those. The reality of this prophecy is that the Democrats keep saying that Republicans are against the IVF, and they're
They
not.
brought it up.
Well,
You know,
maybe a moron Republican brought it up, okay?
well, there's a lot of those.
There are a lot of moron Republicans, granted. Just because one person brings it up doesn't mean everybody else is for it.
Also opposing contraception. I mean, if you want to help not have abortions, let's make sure it's
Well, abstinence
people.
does work.
You know,
Abstinence
you're
does
like
work.
attacking everything. So what?
Yeah, I'm not attacking that either.
No,
I'm
I'm
not
just
attacking
saying
contraception.
party. So they're sending very confusing mixed messages, and
That
it's
is a
also
mixed message, but it's a clean message. I want kids. Kids, are not responsible enough to understand their urges and everything else to be abstinent, and that's what they're pushing. And
well.
hopefully, in the middle of the conversation, will be some sort of
If you're
responsibility.
going to push for abstinence among unmarried people, let's go ahead and talk about prohibition of liquor again. If we're making it a
I
morality
understand.
issue now.
I understand you're making a morality argument, and that's a
Yes,
very tough
I
argument to
would be
tell
much
people how
more
to raise their
comfortable.
kids.
And we all were teenagers. If you're going to do it, you're going to do it. So why not make it where they don't regret it? So
They're gonna regret it.
Not if they
If it
don't.
kind of breaks, they're gonna regret it.
Most young girls are on some form of prescribed birth control.
Well, yeah, that's because
A
of
lot
their
of it actually helps with
biological
other
issues.
women's issues. So,
Yeah, next time we talk about a whole bunch of women's issues, we might want to have a woman on the show.
well, I tried, but she couldn't come
Again,
on.
if we do, then you and I won't be talking at all, and we'll just be
Yeah.
sitting there nodding and saying, "Yeah,
But
yeah."
but back to Matt Gaetz.
Exactly. The real woman of the
Is
campaign,
there an October surprise?
or a September surprise. Because whether they're
Well,
moving right after the primary, there's a hypothetical that he wins a primary, and then right after the primary, they remove him.
well, I have a different theory, and I can't help but think, if I was Kevin McCarthy and I wanted to humiliate my number one enemy, how would I do that?
You have a Democrat be on
Make
his home
sure
turf,
he gets defeated in District 1 by a Democrat.
which, for anybody watching, District 1 in Northwest Florida is the most conservative
Yes.
voting district in the nation.
If Matt Gaetz were to lose to a Democrat in District 1, his political career is completely over. He has to go back to being an attorney. And then his dad's plans are shot, and a lot of other people's plans are shot. But, McCarthy, I just don't see him coming into this, especially spending this money on half measures.
Right.
He's a savvy politician, or he never would have been Speaker of the House to start with.
The flip side of that is that if Gaetz were to lose in the general election to a Democrat, and the votes were to go downhill and trickle down like they do, down ballots, there's a possibility his father, Don Gaetz, might lose his Senate race to a Democrat, Lisa Newell, as well. And so, I
I
mean,
think
there's a good
people will
chance
delineate
but
on
for
that one.
both of this to happen, it'd be a very interesting cosmic sign, line of the moons, um, lining up perfectly. But or it could be just reality that everybody's tired of the Gaetz show. And the Gaetz show just needs to go.
Well, I mean,
For both of those things to happen, Lisa Newell, she needs a lot of fundraising help for her campaign, and Gabe Alamont, who's the Democrat running against Matt Gaetz or Aaron Dimmock, whoever wins, would need a lot of help for her campaign. And I think Gabe's campaign has very good, machine running it
well,
right now.
that's what
They're
I'm
pretty
talking
well
about.
organized.
If McCarthy's actually was building Aaron Dimmock's campaign team as a practice run, and then converting them all over to voting for the Democrat in November,
They'd be going downhill with it. They'd be helping out Lisa Newell as well, or somebody going against Don Gates. Because I mean, all reality here, you and I
that would
both
be
know
okay.
that if we get rid of Don Gates, Matt Gates is gone. There's no Matt Gates without Don.
Yeah, but actually now there's no Don without Matt because their grand scheme's not going to work.
Right. They
You know,
both
Don's
they're
Don's,
codependent
Don's
upon
getting
each
up
other.
in age. His act is coming to a close at some point.
Right.
Matt is his future. If Matt's an attorney again in Shalimar, that's not happening.
No.
But I mean, this is all, like I said, conjecture just because we can't figure out what's going on.
Exactly. And this is the very strange part of Northwest Florida politics. And whenever we come back, we're going to take a quick break here. We're going to talk about the state politics here on the Senator Rick Scott level. And we're going to talk about how, why he needs to go ahead and get reelected here and become the majority leader, or the other guy might say, or not. So we'll be right back with the Political Matrix News.